Hey everyone, get ready to explore the future because today we're taking a deep dive into the world of AI with the State of AI Report 2024 by Nathan Benaich. This isn't just some dry industry overview. This report is packed with juicy details about where AI is headed, and believe me, it's going to blow your mind.
What's fascinating is how this report goes beyond the surface. It dives deep into the research, the industry drama, the political battleground, and even dares to predict what the next year holds for AI.
You had me at predict the future. Okay, let's jump right into the thick of it, starting with what's happening in the research labs. The report talks about this convergence of AI performance, meaning different labs are reaching similar breakthroughs. And leading the charge is OpenAI's O1 model.
Right. OpenAI is pushing the limits of what AI can do, particularly when it comes to planning and reasoning. O1 isn't just predicting the next word in a sentence like those old school language models. This thing reasons through problems step by step, almost like we do.
Wait, hold up. It's not just finding patterns, it's actually thinking about the problem.
Exactly. This makes it incredibly good at tasks that require logic, like those brain-bending math and science problems. And OpenAI has the scores to prove it. For example, O1 crushed its predecessor on the AM 2024 math competition, scoring almost 84% compared to a measly 13%. That's a massive leap forward.
Okay, this O1 sounds seriously next level. But let's be real. How much is all this brain power going to cost someone?
Well, let's just say there's a reason OpenAI hasn't replaced all its models with O1 just yet. It's significantly pricier to run than anything else they have. It's like comparing the cost of a bicycle to a private jet.
So it's the supercar of AI models, all the power and performance, but with a price tag to match. Speaking of alternatives, the report also mentions Meta's Llama 3, which is making waves as an open source model. What's the deal with that?
What's impressive about Llama 3 is that it can go toe-to-toe with those closed models like GPT-4 and Claude. This is a big deal because it's the first time an open source model has reached this level. And how did they achieve this? By going absolutely massive with their training data.
Okay, spill the tea. How much data are we talking about here?
Hold on to your hats, 15 trillion tokens. That's way more data than anyone thought was necessary, even beyond the theoretical chinchilla optimal amount. And you know what? It worked. This massive data set supercharged their model's performance. The takeaway here is that sometimes more really is more, at least when it comes to training AI.
Wow, so data really is the rocket fuel of the AI world. But here's something that makes you think the report mentions growing concerns about the accuracy of the tests used to evaluate these AI models. What's that all about?
You're right to be skeptical. It turns out some popular benchmarks are riddled with errors, which can make the results misleading. It's like trying to measure a marathon with a faulty stopwatch. For instance, the MMLU benchmark, a popular one, had shockingly high error rates in fields like virology. This means we could be underestimating some AI models, which is a big deal, especially when it comes to safety, something we'll definitely dig into later.
And where there's a need for a good evaluation, there's always someone ready to turn it into a competition.
You know it. The report talks about this LMSYS Chatbot Arena Leaderboard, which is like American Idol for chatbots. They use a vibes-based system where users chat with two bots simultaneously and pick their favorite.
So a popularity contest for AI. That's kind of hilarious. But is that really a good way to judge how good a chatbot is?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? While the vibes approach is popular for quick and dirty comparisons, it's definitely not perfect. Interestingly, though, even in this subjective arena, OpenAI models consistently come out on top. Maybe they're just built with charisma.
Maybe they've got that AI charm. Okay, let's switch gears and chat about the business side of AI. When it comes to hardware, one name rules them all: NVIDIA.
No doubt about it. NVIDIA is the king of the hill. Their market cap hit a mind-blowing $3 trillion in June, putting them among the most valuable companies on the planet. Their GPUs are the go-to for handling those demanding AI workloads, and every big player in the field relies on them.
So it's like the gold rush, but for GPUs. Are there any brave souls trying to challenge NVIDIA's dominance?
There are a few contenders emerging, each with their own strategy. Google, for example, has developed the Axion chip, designed for a broader range of tasks. Meta, on the other hand, is working on their own custom AI inference accelerator. You might be wondering what an inference accelerator is. It's basically a specialized chip designed to make AI run faster and more efficiently, especially when it comes to using AI models in real-world applications.
So are these contenders actual threats to NVIDIA's throne?
It's still early days. NVIDIA has a massive head start, especially with its well-established software ecosystem and its dominance in networking solutions. It's like they've built the entire AI city and everyone else is just moving in. That said, companies like AMD and Intel are investing heavily in catching up. They're focusing on building out their software offerings and cozying up to the open source community. But for now, NVIDIA remains the undisputed heavyweight champion of AI hardware.
They've certainly built an empire, haven't they? But even with all this cutting-edge hardware, the report points out that running these massive AI models isn't always smooth sailing. System failures are a real concern.
Absolutely. Imagine trying to keep a supercomputer balanced on a tightrope. That's the level of complexity we're dealing with. Even minor hiccups can bring the whole system crashing down. For example, Meta revealed that while they were training their massive Llama 3 model, they faced an average of 8 or 9 job interruptions every single day.
Wow, that sounds like a tech team's worst nightmare. What's causing all these headaches? Is it the hardware itself, or are we talking software glitches? Spill the tea.
It's a bit of both, honestly. GPUs, those workhorses of AI, are actually more prone to failures than traditional CPUs. And the software. Well, even a tiny misconfiguration can throw the entire system out of whack. On top of that, you have real-world gremlins like power fluctuations and faulty components that can rear their ugly heads. It's a constant battle to keep these AI systems up and running.
Sounds like it takes a small army of engineers working around the clock. Now, with all this AI innovation happening, governments and regulators worldwide are watching closely, right?
Oh, absolutely. AI regulation is a hot topic globally, with each country taking its own approach. The US, for example, initially encouraged voluntary guidelines for AI labs, but things have gotten a lot more serious since then.
What kind of regulations are we talking about? Did things get a lot stricter?
You bet. Back in October 2023, President Biden signed an executive order focused on regulating those frontier models, basically laying down the law for developing and deploying advanced AI. This was a big deal because it signaled a shift towards more concrete action from the US government.
So, no more gentlemen's agreements. What did the tech giants think about this executive order?
Let's just say it wasn't exactly met with open arms. The initial draft of the order caused quite a stir, with the tech companies and investors pushing back hard against the proposed regulations. It would have been a major shakeup, with plans for a new regulatory body overseeing AI, mandatory reporting requirements for companies, and even a rather unique, some might say controversial, way of deciding which AI models fell under its purview.
Sounds like it would have turned the AI world upside down.
You said it. But after a lot of back and forth, lobbying, and revisions, the final bill looked quite different. Those more contentious parts were stripped away, and it eventually sailed through with support from both sides of the aisle.
It seems like finding that sweet spot between allowing innovation to flourish and putting up guardrails to protect everyone is a tough balancing act for governments. Speaking of different approaches, the EU is also stepping into the AI regulation ring with its own playbook, isn't it?
That's right. The EU has been ahead of the curve on this one. Their AI Act has been in the works for a while and aims to classify and regulate AI systems based on their risk level. Think of it like a rating system for AI, from low risk to proceed with extreme caution. They're also laser focused on data protection and transparency, making sure companies are using your data responsibly.
So less about stifling innovation and more about making sure AI is used ethically.
You got it. Now, there have been some critics who argue that the AI Act is too broad and could stifle innovation, but it's a clear sign that the EU is serious about setting ground rules for the Wild West of AI development and use.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, China is also flexing its regulatory muscles, especially when it comes to how companies collect and use data.
Absolutely. China has been tightening the screws on data protection laws, which has major implications for any AI company operating within its borders. Meta, for instance, found themselves under scrutiny for how they were scraping data to train their AI models. Seems like China wants to keep a tight leash on its data.
It's fascinating to see how each player in this global AI game is bringing their own values and priorities to the table. But while governments are busy drawing up the rule book, AI researchers are grappling with a more immediate concern. How do we make sure these increasingly powerful AI models are safe and secure? And it seems like there's been a big shift in mindset from last year.
You're spot on. Last year, the AI community was buzzing with talk about the potential for artificial intelligence to, take over the world. Existential dread was the mood. But this year, The vibe is different. The focus has shifted to accelerating development and getting AI products into the hands of users as quickly as possible.
So from AI is going to enslave us all to download my new AI-powered app today.
You got it. It's like the AI community collectively decided to hit the gas pedal instead of the brakes. And this shift in thinking was especially apparent in the drama that unfolded within OpenAI itself. Remember, they were the ones who were super vocal about AI safety.
Yeah, what happened there? Weren't they supposed to be the good guys?
That was the idea. But as their commercial ambitions grew, so did the internal conflict. Things reached a boiling point when several key figures, including CTO Mira Murati and Chief Research Officer Bob McGrew, decided to walk away from the company.
Wow, that's big. What was the reason for their dramatic exit? Was it about more than just different visions for the future?
The rumor mill was buzzing. Word on the street was that there were disagreements about the company's direction. Some folks felt that OpenAI was straying from its original mission of prioritizing AI safety and instead getting caught up in the race for profits. It was a major shakeup for the AI world, that's for sure.
It really shows how the allure of progress and market dominance can sometimes overshadow even the best intentions. But even with this shift toward rapid development, the efforts to make AI safer haven't completely disappeared, have they? The UK, for instance, seems to be taking the lead on this front.
You're right, the UK has been very proactive. They hosted a high-profile AI safety summit last November, bringing together government officials and industry bigwigs to figure out how to keep this AI train from going off the rails. One of the concrete outcomes of that summit was the creation of the world's first AI Safety Institute. A bold move, wouldn't you say?
An entire institute dedicated to AI safety. What exactly do they do?
Think of the AI Safety Institute, or AISI as it's known, as a global watchdog for all things AI. They've got a three-pronged approach to tackling AI safety. First, they're developing rigorous frameworks and tests to evaluate advanced AI models before they're unleashed upon the world. Second, they're doing the research needed to really understand and address potential AI risks. And finally, they're building bridges internationally to create common safety standards for AI.
Wow, so they're like the AI safety superheroes swooping in to save the day. Are they actually having an impact? They're definitely not messing around. They've already rolled out a comprehensive framework for evaluating the safety of large language models, and they've gotten commitments from companies like OpenAI to give them early access to future models. And it's not just the UK. The US quickly followed suit and established its own AISI. The two institutes are working hand in hand to make sure AI develops safely on both sides of the pond.
It's reassuring to know someone is looking out for us while the AI world speeds ahead. But with any powerful technology, there will always be those who try to bend it to their will, right?
One of the biggest concerns in the AI safety world is this thing called jailbreaking.
Ah, yes. Jailbreaking sounds way cooler than it is. It's basically a bunch of techniques used to trick AI models into breaking their own rules, essentially making them do things they were programmed not to do. And unfortunately, it's become a game of cat and mouse between the good guys and let's call them the not-so-good guys.
Okay, so how does this AI jailbreak showdown work?
Picture it like this. Imagine a fortress guarded by an AI. As soon as researchers build higher walls and stronger defenses, someone finds a new way to scale those walls or tunnel under them. The report talks about this shadowy group of red teamers, led by a mysterious figure known only as Pliny the Prompter, who have become notorious for jailbreaking even the most secure AI models. It's like they have an uncanny knack for finding the weak spots.
It sounds like something straight out of a spy movie, so it's a constant battle to stay one step ahead. But it's not all doom and gloom, right? We're fighting fire with fire, aren't we? I mean, are we using AI itself to make AI safer?
You're catching on. Researchers are getting smart and are now using AI to fight back against these vulnerabilities. One approach, known as rainbow teaming, uses a special algorithm to generate prompts specifically designed to provoke unsafe responses from the AI. Think of it like sending in an undercover agent to test the system.
So it's like having an AI safety inspector working on the inside. That's brilliant. How does it work in practice?
It's all about understanding the enemy. By analyzing how the AI responds to these trick prompts, researchers can pinpoint weaknesses in the system and reinforce those areas. Meta is even using a cool technique called AbuPrompter that uses an AI model to generate those adversarial prompts, making the whole process much more efficient.
It's amazing how we're now using AI to make itself safer. It's like we've entered this new era where AI is becoming essential for managing its own risks. This State of AI report is full of surprises.
You said it. As AI continues to evolve at this incredible pace, safety and security are only going to become more critical. But it's encouraging to see the AI community stepping up to the plate, constantly developing innovative solutions to make sure this powerful technology doesn't go rogue. We'll delve deeper into the world of AI and its impact after a quick break. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, ready to dive back into the fascinating world of AI. You know, I am. I'm particularly curious about something we touched on earlier, the use of AI in biology. The report really digs into this, and it seems like there's a lot of chatter and some nail-biting about the potential for these powerful AI models to be misused in the wrong hands. It's like something out of a Michael Crichton novel.
It's definitely a hot topic. Last year, a research paper from Stanford really set off alarm bells. They suggested that these large language models could make it easier for people with bad intentions to misuse biological information, even potentially creating bioweapons. Suddenly, science fiction felt a little too real, right?
Okay, that's a seriously chilling thought. How realistic is that scenario? Should we be prepping our underground bunkers?
Well, it sparked a healthy dose of debate within the scientific community. Some labs, including OpenAI, have tried to replicate the Stanford findings, but haven't seen that same level of risk. Their assessments suggest that while these AI models can provide information about potential biothreats, actually using that information to create something harmful is a whole other ballgame requiring a level of complexity these models haven't reached yet. Think of it like this: knowing the ingredients for a cake doesn't make you a pastry chef.
Okay, that's a relief.
Yeah.
So it's more about access to information than the actual ability to bake that bioweapon cake. But even access to that kind of knowledge can be dangerous in the wrong hands.
Exactly. And that's why the report raises another important point. We might be focusing too narrowly on large language models. There are other AI tools being used in biology that could also be vulnerable to misuse, and we need to have those on our radar too.
Like what kind of tools? Give me an example.
Let's talk about protein design, for instance. We now have AI models that can not only predict how proteins are structured, but can actually design entirely new proteins from scratch. It's like having an AI architect for the building blocks of life. And tools like RF diffusion, which are open source and available to, well, anyone, are making this technology increasingly accessible. That's both incredibly exciting and a tad scary.
While that's amazing for medical advancements, think designer drugs and super effective vaccines, I can definitely see the potential for misuse.
You're right, the very same technology that could lead to medical breakthroughs could also be used to create more dangerous pathogens, or even find ways to trick those DNA screening techniques. It's a classic dual-use dilemma.
Okay, now I'm getting anxious again. So what can we do? How do we keep those dangerous AI recipes out of the wrong hands?
The report suggests a multi-layered approach. It starts with stricter access controls for these powerful AI tools, like having robust know your customer procedures to verify the identities of users. We also need much tighter security in labs and research facilities to prevent any unauthorized access to equipment and data. Basically, lock down those recipes.
So building safeguards at every level, from controlling who has access to the technology to monitoring how it's being used, it's about more than just building a better lock for the lab door.
Precisely, and it goes even deeper than that. The report emphasizes the importance of responsible design principles, baking ethical considerations right into the development process. For example, leaders in the field of protein design have committed to guidelines that prioritize safety and ethical considerations in their work.
So it's like embedding a moral compass into the technology itself. I like it. But it's not just about those doomsday scenarios, right? We also need to be worried about the more everyday ways AI can be misused, things that might not make headlines, but can still have a real impact on people's lives.
Absolutely. The report brings up an important point. Some of the most unsettling examples of AI misuse involve readily available tools that anyone with a bit of tech savvy can get their hands on. We've all seen those deepfakes, incredibly realistic but completely fabricated videos being used to defraud companies or manipulate public opinion. And then there's the rise of AI-generated audio being used to harass or impersonate individuals. The technology is evolving faster than our ability to control it.
It's scary how easy it is to weaponize these tools. And as they become even more sophisticated and widespread, we can only expect these types of abuses to multiply.
Unfortunately, you're not wrong. And it underscores the urgent need for clear legal frameworks and effective law enforcement strategies to deter these AI-powered crimes and hold those responsible accountable for their actions. We need to evolve our laws just as quickly as the technology is evolving.
It's clear that we're entering uncharted territory where the ethical and societal implications of AI are becoming just as important as the technological advances themselves. How do we prepare for a future where AI is everywhere?
That's the million-dollar question. As we keep pushing the boundaries of what AI can do, it's crucial to have these conversations about the impact this technology will have on our world. We need to collectively decide how to use this powerful tool responsibly.
Well said. Now, zooming out a bit, let's look at what the report has to say about the global AI landscape. It seems like there's a full-on race to develop and deploy advanced AI with different countries vying for that coveted gold medal. It's like the Olympics of AI.
You got it. It's a fiercely competitive arena with the US, China, and the EU all pouring resources into AI research and development. Each player has its own strengths and weaknesses, which makes things even more interesting.
Let's start with the US. They've been leading the AI charge for a while now. What's their current standing in this global AI competition?
The US remains a powerhouse in AI research and development. They have this incredible ecosystem of top-tier universities, innovative tech companies, and deep-pocketed venture capitalists that keep the AI engine running. But as we discussed earlier, the US is also grappling with how to regulate these powerful technologies, trying to find that balance between fostering innovation and keeping things safe.
And what about China? They've been making some serious moves in the AI game. What's their strategy?
China is a force to be reckoned with. They've made AI a national priority, investing heavily in research and development, especially in areas like facial recognition and surveillance technologies. They're playing the long game, and they have ambitions to become the global leader in AI by 2030, but they face a significant hurdle access to advanced hardware. The U.S. export controls are putting a damper on their ability to get their hands on the latest and greatest chips.
So it's a classic technological tug-of-war between these superpowers. It's like a high-stakes game of chess with each side trying to outmaneuver the other.
Exactly. And then we have the EU, which is charting its own course. They're less interested in matching the US and China in terms of pure technological firepower. Instead, they're focused on establishing ethical guidelines and regulations for AI. Think of them as the ethical compass of the AI world, trying to ensure this technology is used for good.
It's fascinating how each of these major players is trying to shape the future of AI in their own image. But it's not just about the geopolitical competition, right? The report also highlights some interesting trends within the AI industry itself. It seems like we're seeing a surge in new players and investments, but also some consolidation as the big fish start swallowing up the smaller ones.
That's right. This generative AI boom has ignited a gold rush. There are startups popping up left and right, each promising to revolutionize their respective industries with their AI-powered solutions. Investors are pouring money into AI like never before, nearly $100 billion in funding in 2024 alone. It's the Wild West out there, and everyone wants a piece of the action.
So is it safe to say it's a good time to be an AI entrepreneur?
The opportunities are definitely there. But it's not all sunshine and roses. The report points out that many of these startups are raising money based on sky-high valuations that may or may not reflect reality. Some of them haven't even figured out how to make money yet.
So are we headed for an AI bubble that's about to burst?
It's a definite possibility, but it's still early days in this AI revolution. Remember the dot-com bubble? There was a lot of hype and speculation, but eventually the dust settled and the truly game-changing companies rose to the top. The same thing is likely to happen in the AI world.
Survival of the fittest AI edition. And while the private sector is racing ahead, governments aren't just sitting on the sidelines, are they? They're launching their own initiatives to keep pace with this rapid AI evolution.
Absolutely. There's a growing realization that AI is going to be a major player in shaping the future, and no country wants to be left behind. We're seeing governments investing in public compute resources, which are basically massive computing infrastructures, to support AI research and development. Think of it like building national research labs dedicated to all things AI.
It's like the space race, but for artificial intelligence. But all this progress comes with a cost, doesn't it? The report raises some red flags about the energy consumption of AI and the potential environmental impact.
It's a valid concern. Training and running these massive AI models requires a staggering amount of energy. And as our hunger for AI grows, so too will its carbon footprint. It's like we're trading one environmental challenge for another.
So is AI ultimately more of a help or a hindrance in the fight against climate change?
It's not that simple. AI can be both part of the problem and part of the solution. While it contributes to energy consumption, it also has the potential to help us tackle environmental issues head-on. For example, AI is being used to make our energy grids more efficient, develop cleaner renewable energy sources, and even monitor deforestation in real time.
It's a powerful tool that can cut both ways, so how we use it is critical.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about something that hits closer to home jobs. The report delves into the impact of AI on the workforce, and it seems like that age-old debate about whether AI will create or destroy jobs is far from over.
It's a question that's been around since the first robots appeared on factory floors, and it's only getting more heated as AI becomes more sophisticated. On one hand, you have experts predicting massive job losses as AI-powered machines become capable of doing tasks that were once considered uniquely human.
The classic, robots are coming for our jobs scenario. But what about the flip side? Don't some experts believe AI will ultimately create more jobs than it eliminates?
That's the other side of the coin. They argue that AI will usher in a new wave of job creation just like previous technological revolutions. As AI automates routine tasks, it will free up humans to focus on more creative, strategic, and high-level thinking work. They believe that history is on their side, pointing to the fact that technological advancements have generally led to a net increase in jobs over time.
So it's a wait-and-see situation. Will AI be the hero or the villain of the job market?
To some extent, yes. But it's crucial that we start preparing now for the changes AI will inevitably bring to the workforce. We need to invest in education and training programs that equip people with the skills they'll need to thrive in an AI-driven world. And we can't forget about social safety nets like universal basic income that could provide a cushion for those who are displaced by automation. We need to be prepared for any eventuality.
Being proactive is definitely key. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, let's indulge in a little bit of speculation. What does the report have to say about the future of AI? Any predictions that blew your mind?
Oh, absolutely. The report predicts that the rate of AI innovation is about to hit warp speed. We're talking groundbreaking advancements that could fundamentally change the game. One prediction that really caught my eye is the rise of open source alternatives to OpenAI's O1 model. Remember that super powerful but super expensive model we talked about earlier?
Yeah, the AI supercar. Are you saying we might see open source versions of that kind of cutting edge AI?
That's what the report predicts. Imagine a world where the most advanced AI capabilities are accessible to everyone, not just the tech giants. It could democratize AI in ways we haven't even begun to imagine.
That would be a game changer. What other glimpses into the AI crystal ball did the report reveal?
Well, buckle up, because the report predicts that the regulatory landscape for AI is going to get even more complex. Governments around the world will be scrambling to establish new laws and guidelines to keep up with these rapid advancements. And with all eyes on AI safety, we can expect a surge in investments to develop safeguards that prevent those sci-fi doomsday scenarios.
It sounds like the next year is going to be a pivotal one for the future of AI, full of breakthroughs, challenges, and maybe even a few surprises along the way.
You said it. We're standing at the edge of a new frontier, and it's both exhilarating and a little bit daunting, isn't it? But we'll explore those uncharted territories and more right after a quick break. Stay with us.
And we're back, ready to unpack how AI will actually change the world around us.
It's easy to get lost in the weeds with AI, but the bottom line is, this tech is transforming the world faster than most people realize. And those changes come with both huge upsides and some potential downsides.
For sure. Like, one thing that really struck me was how AI is already reshaping warfare.
Yeah, AI is already a major player on the battlefield. We're talking about autonomous drones, AI-powered surveillance systems, you name it, and it's only going to get more advanced. The Pentagon, for example, has this program called Replicator, where they're building swarms of AI-powered drones.
Rolled up swarms of AI drones. This sounds like a sci-fi movie.
Well, the idea is that these drones would be relatively cheap to produce. So instead of having a few super advanced weapons, you could have a massive swarm of AI-powered drones. It could totally change the dynamics of warfare.
It's kind of unsettling when you think about it. But AI is also impacting things far beyond the battlefield, right? Like, the report also talks about how it's being used in the legal profession, which seems like a really interesting area.
Absolutely. There's a lot of potential for AI to make the legal system more efficient and maybe even fairer. Think about it. AI could help lawyers with legal research, drafting documents, even predicting case outcomes.
So we could have AI lawyers?
Not quite. But it could definitely free up human lawyers to focus on the more complex aspects of a case.
It does make you wonder what will happen to all those paralegals and legal assistants. But I mean, every technological revolution comes with some job displacement, right?
It's true, but this time around, even some lawyers might need to adapt. And then there's another issue we have to consider: bias. These AI systems are often trained on huge data sets of past legal cases, and we have to make sure they're not just going to amplify existing biases in the legal system.
That's a great point. AI can be a powerful tool for good, but only if we design it responsibly. Speaking of responsibility, what about the battle against misinformation? Can AI help us combat all the fake news and deepfakes that are flooding the internet?
I wish it were that easy. AI can help us fight misinformation. For example, you could have AI algorithms that scan social media for fake news or spot deepfakes.
That sounds promising. So we'll have AI fact-checkers saving the day.
In a perfect world, maybe. The problem is, the people creating the misinformation are also using AI, and they're getting better at it all the time. The report talks about how deepfakes are becoming more and more realistic, and AI-powered bots are becoming experts at spreading propaganda and manipulating public opinion.
It's like we're in this AI arms race where everyone's using the same technology to fight each other.
It is a bit of an arms race, unfortunately, and it underscores how important media literacy and critical thinking are. You can't just trust everything you see or hear online. Be skeptical, check your sources, and don't be afraid to use your common sense.
Great advice. So we've talked about killer robots, AI lawyers, the fight against misinformation. What's the big takeaway here? How do we make sure AI is a force for good in the world?
That's the question, isn't it? We're at a pivotal moment. AI is already changing the world around us, and it's only going to get more powerful. So we need to be having these conversations, thinking critically about the implications of this technology, and working together to make sure it benefits everyone.
So what's the call to action for our listeners? What can they do?
Stay informed. Educate yourself about AI, its potential, and its risks. Don't be afraid to ask tough questions and demand transparency from the companies developing these technologies. And most importantly, don't be a passive observer. Engage in these conversations, share your thoughts, and help shape the future of AI.
Couldn't said it better myself. This State of AI report has given us a lot to think about. It's clear that the future of AI is being written right now, and it's up to all of us to ensure it's a future we can all be proud of. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Until then.